While Apple is paying millions of dollars to game developers to port AAA games to iOS or iPadOS, Google hasn't taken any such initiative, and neither has Samsung. Flagship SoCs released in the past 3 years are actually quite capable in running several AAA games had there been mobile ports available for them. Unfortunately, that has not been the case, and these capable SoCs remain severely underutilized. However,
fine. I'll do it myself.
thanks to hardworking developers behind the Wine project, Proton, Box64, and applications like Winlator, Mobox, can't forget the old Exagear, there has been massive progress in the field of x86-64 emulation on Android in what feels like just 9 to 10 months. It's honestly amazing, and I can't wait for this tech to get even better with better hardware support coming in the form of Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 and more mature driver support. In this video, I'll give a glimpse of what's possible right now. It took me weeks to test out these games, fiddle with several game versions, emulator versions, and finding the right settings. So I hope you will enjoy it. But before that, if you are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. On this channel, I talk about technology that provides a lot of value to the user, guide buyers to choose the right product, and provide tips and tricks to extract the maximum functionality out of your mobile devices. With that said, let's get going. Alright, so the first game is Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2010, one of the very best Need for Speed games ever. This game marked a comeback of the NFS franchise after a slew of below average releases. This game looked amazing back then, and it still holds up very well today. And more importantly, it runs shockingly well on my Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 powered Galaxy Tab S9. It maintains an almost stable 60 FPS. The tablet does get quite hot, and that's true for most games in this video. So I do recommend getting one of those thermoelectric coolers for long gaming sessions. By the way, I'm controlling the game with a generic gamepad that supports X input connected over USB OTG. The next game is Far Cry 3, which many claim to be the peak of the Far Cry franchise, although in my opinion that would be Far Cry 4. Regardless, Far Cry 3 is a classic. It also runs quite well on the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2. However, there is one graphical glitch which I was unable to fix even after trying multiple emulators and settings, and that's the shadow rendering, which is just way too dark. I have seen other gameplay videos online where this issue doesn't seem to appear, so I guess I need to do more research on this. Anyways, this game is a classic like I said, and still enjoyable and looks great. Next up is Mafia 2. The Mafia franchise is highly underrated, and Mafia 1 and 2 are fantastic open world gangster games set in the 1930s to 1960s Chicago and New York City. Great characters, great storyline, great voice acting, and a beautiful open world. In terms of performance, you can get over 60 FPS in indoor areas, while it can fluctuate between 30 to 50 FPS in the open world, especially when driving. It also makes the device crazy hot. So for this game, I actually prefer locking the FPS to 30 FPS, and that provides a more consistent experience and also prevents the device from getting too hot. Next up is 50,000 people used to live here, now it's a ghost town. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, probably one of the most influential FPS games of all times. Now this game does not support X input, which is why I'm having to play this game with a mouse and keyboard, which would be fine. However, the problem is mouse input in Winlator isn't great. There is a lot of jitter and the control can spiral out. Also, whenever you move the mouse, the FPS drops. The FPS is high in this game, and so the FPS drop is not a big problem, but it will be a big problem in the upcoming games that I'm just gonna show. Next up is Need for Speed Rivals, which in my opinion is the most underrated NFS game. If you want a challenge, then play this game. Some call it the Dark Souls of racing games due to the brutally overpowered cops. The game is built on the Frostbite 3 engine and looks great. Now this game is capped to 30 FPS, I don't know why, but the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 is mostly able to maintain 30 FPS pretty well. Next up is the original Mass Effect, the first game of the epic intergalactic third-person RPG shooter franchise. However, it's unplayable in my opinion. This game does not support X input and I have to rely on mouse and keyboard, and in this game, the mouse input creates extreme lag and frame drops as you can see here. This translation emulation is not efficient for this game. GPU utilization is very low and so is FPS. And moving mouse introduces huge frame drops. So this is a great game, unfortunately unplayable in my opinion. Next up is Far Cry 4, which in my opinion is the peak of the Far Cry franchise. It's basically Far Cry 3 perfected. It's also a lot more graphically demanding game than Far Cry 3, and it honestly packs the best graphics in the entire Far Cry franchise. Regarding performance, we have a problem. I was unable to enable X input in this game even though this game supports it, and as a result I had to fall back on mouse and keyboard, and any mouse movement results in frame drops. I feel this game is still quite playable despite the frame drops, but there must be a way to enable X input in this game. I just need to do more research. Next up we got the big one, GTA 5. Honestly, one of the greatest games of our generation, and in my opinion, the most fun GTA. It's been a pipe dream for many to play this game on mobile someday. There has been so many fake tutorial videos over the years, but this is the real deal, guys. I was shocked to see 60 FPS when I started the game. However, from what I've experienced and what I've read, it seems like this game has a memory leak issue with Winlator, which is the emulator of my choice, and the game runs quite well until you load more and more of the open world and you quickly fill up the RAM and it just crashes. It even crashes all my background apps. I have seen videos on YouTube where people are able to get this game running without any crashes just fine on much weaker CPUs with 8GB RAM, but I don't know why I haven't had that success yet. Next up is Bioshock Remastered. Oh my god, what an amazing game. The Bioshock trilogy, in my opinion, is one of the greatest FPS trilogies of all times. What a story, fantastic fantasy RPG elements, great atmosphere and gameplay. Performance on my Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 Tab S9 is very good. It takes a bit of time to load all the textures, but once that is done, the gameplay is very smooth. Even the device does not get much hot. It's a really enjoyable experience on Android after many years because there was actually a port of Bioshock but it was only available for iOS. I guess better late than never. Next up is Crysis 3 Remastered. It's surreal seeing Crysis 3 running on this thin Android tablet. The game looks gorgeous. Regarding performance, it's a mixed bag. Sometimes it's really smooth with high FPS, other times it can have some stutters. Maybe I just need to find a better combination of settings because the stutters have no fixed pattern. Sometimes it can run poorly in a simple scene, at other times it can run smooth in a very heavy scene. Next up is Sniper Ghost Warrior 2, and it's also based on the same engine as Crysis 3, that is CryEngine 3. However, the performance is way more stable in this game. The performance does drop as the device heats up more and more, but overall it's a lot more stable. It's an overall enjoyable experience with the Tab S9. Next up is the big daddy of FPS games, that is Doom. Specifically, it's Doom 2016, which is a soft reboot of the original Doom. Doom 2016 is a great game and one of the best in the legendary franchise. In terms of performance, it's pretty good. From time to time, you may experience some persistent low FPS, but it does jump right back up and stays over 45 FPS. Overall, it's a very polished experience. Next up is Rise of the Tomb Raider. If you like adventure games, definitely play this. I actually prefer playing this over Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Do note this game can be quite demanding in certain areas. Overall, the experience on the 8th Gen 2 is quite smooth. Last but not least, we got Metal Gear Revengeance, a fantastic hack and slash Metal Gear game. It is not canon and it's more like a parallel story according to Hideo Kojima. The game is really fun to play with a very charismatic antagonist and runs great on the 8th Gen 2. Overall guys, that was all. It's amazing to finally see the power of such a powerful SoC get utilized. There is still so much headroom available and I'm sure it will be unlocked with better and better driver support in the future, because remember, we are still limited by the emulator itself in many games. I know there are several other games that runs great on Winlator, but I can only cover so much. This video has taken me weeks to create, so I would greatly appreciate if you could like this video. Also, please consider subscribing to the channel for more such interesting videos and help me reach 5,000 subscribers. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Take care and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.